We're going to look at the manga of Dragon Ball Z, and the first pages we see are when Gohan and Dabura already are mid-combat, and what looks like Dabura giving Gohan a hard time. One of the trickiest bits to determine is if Gohan was a Super Saiyan 2 or Super Saiyan Grade 5, because there is an obvious absence of electricity in the Super Saiyan aura in this fight. When comparing it to Super Saiyan 2 Gohan in the Cell games, what we see here against Dabura is a basic Super Saiyan. But it all gets interesting when comparing him in the tournament against Kibito, when Gohan does indeed show Kibito his new Super Saiyan form, implying the same form he used against Cell. And bingo, electricity. This shows us that Gohan does indeed have access to that form after all. But when it comes to fighting Dabura in the manga, why is that form not appearing? Well, now it brings us to the fighting mechanics and actual factors we should all be considering when someone fights, in Dragon Ball and in real life, and that is conditioning. As we see against Kibito, Gohan lifts his power to that ascended level, the Super Saiyan 2, and we assume Gohan can indeed tap into that power as displayed. But Gohan is just standing still. He's not in combat exerting power with punches and kicks and blasts. He's just standing there, and this shouldn't be detrimental to Gohan's stamina. But of course, when he fights Dabura in the manga, Gohan's stamina and conditioning take more of a beating because he's literally out of shape from not training for 7 years. And maybe this is the case in storytelling terms. Gohan going balls deep into a battle against Dabura, but it's just way too much on Gohan for him to even hold on to his Super Saiyan 2 form in combat. I believe that the manga was trying to tell us that Gohan cannot sustain Super Saiyan 2 in combat situations like he used to. He was probably pacing himself in Super Saiyan 1 as best he could to try and beat Dabura, and yes, he was trying. Dabura was giving him a hard time, but that's the physical side to it. Let's talk about the mental side of Gohan, when he tries to interrupt Buu's hatching. He hears his dad's voice try to encourage him to be like he was against Cell. He says that he's angry, but he can't be the way he was before. And what does this mean? Well, he clearly can hit that level of power as demonstrated against Kibito, right? But at that time, there was no pressure or hard circumstances for Gohan to overcome. Unlike now, there's a demonic lord in front of him with a powerful beast about to hatch. Gohan's mind is not trained to deal with this shit anymore. He's just had 7 years off. He's probably freaking out. He's been in very peaceful times. He was not Super Saiyan 2 against Dabura because he could not tap into it under those circumstances of mind and body. Only against Kibito in where life-threatening circumstances are gone. And even then, it's debatable how long he could have held on to Super Saiyan 2 if they engaged. I can even remotely guess as to why he could hit Super Saiyan 2 against Kibito was because it was a short time after Videl got hurt, and this was a huge trigger for Gohan's emotions once again, allowing him to tap into that Super Saiyan 2 power. Of course, Gohan didn't hit Super Saiyan 2 first time Videl got hurt, but maybe the emotions started to bubble inside him from there, ready for when he went Super Saiyan 2 against Kibito. There was a rage trigger that made the difference, and we know Gohan with rage is dangerous. We can't use the excuse that Toriyama just wasn't adding lightning into Super Saiyan 2 anymore in the manga, because obviously Goku and Vegeta had it the whole time as Super Saiyan 2s around the same time Gohan's aura was drawn. But there is one in-story reason why Gohan may not have been Super Saiyan 2 against Dabura, but could do it against Kibito, and I think this in-story reason works perfectly to go along with my conditioning argument, and that's when Kibito revived Gohan after Babidi's henchman stole his energy. Kibito was surprised about how strong Gohan was and stated he couldn't fully restore his power. He didn't have enough healing magic to do that, only enough to get him up and running somewhat. This would mean when he travelled to Babidi's spaceship and fought Dabura, he was not even at 100%, and with him being somewhat rusty compared to what he was 7 years before, it would make sense he couldn't summon or hold on to Super Saiyan 2 for a big battle with Dabura, someone stated to be Cell's level. But when he's fresh against Kibito, he could have. Later on, Gohan took a Senzu and then proceeded to attack Buu's egg. At that point, Gohan's hair did appear much more defined, and those panels were playing on Gohan regaining his rage that he had years ago. He actually snaps and attacks Buu's egg, which could very well be the Super Saiyan 2 form at this point, as he's still fresh. But again, no electricity, despite Goku and Vegeta appearing with it in the same chapters. It could actually be Toriyama didn't want to portray the rusty Gohan as strong as the superior Goku and Vegeta during their battle, so stripped away Gohan's lightning effect to make him appear less impressive. But still, lightning has always been consistent for Super Saiyan 2 in the manga. I have no doubt if Gohan was Super Saiyan 2 in the manga, he would have killed Dabura, similar to how Future Trunks did it. That's where Dabura's power was capped at, less than Buu Saga Super Saiyan 2. And even in the anime of Dragon Ball Z, we get the same. Electricity against Kibito, but none against Dabura. Yet Gohan having a hard time. Because it's missing in the anime as well, it double confirms it that Gohan was not Super Saiyan 2 against Dabura. Gohan is in high school and goes Super Saiyan, and we can see how he has that double bang nearly. Sometimes Gohan has that extra string of hair next to his bang, sometimes he doesn't. It's inconsistent. Some dialogue is always up for debate depending on what subtitles you read and what dub you listen to. But another big clue as to why Gohan was not Super Saiyan 2 against Dabura was because of how he was drawn, with his expressions. Gohan as a Super Saiyan 2 against Kibito, you could see how Toriyama drew Gohan to have that battle-focused look, the rage in his eyes. It's just there. But when he's Super Saiyan 1 against Dabura, you can see the slight differences. Even though he's Super Saiyan, it's not quite as intense as his Super Saiyan 2 look. Emotions and rage triggers are everything for Gohan's Super Saiyan 2 form. The Daizenshu states that Gohan was a Super Saiyan 2 against Dabura, and that the fight was equal. And yes, at the very beginning it was, but not as the fight progresses. Let's look at why Gohan was slowly declining whilst Dabura was still standing tall using the manga. And let's see if the Daizenshu lives up to the manga. Gohan punches Dabura, then Dabura maintains his cool and blasts Gohan, giving Gohan a hard time. Gohan continuously looking on edge whilst Dabura is continuously looking confident and standing tall. Dabura spits stone on Gohan and Gohan completely lucks out and takes his glove off. This was so lucky when we think about it. Dabura assaults Gohan with a sword, and after a struggle, Gohan snaps the sword, leaving Gohan looking weakened, but Dabura standing tall and strong. The fight is telling us that Gohan is weakening, whilst Dabura is remaining dominant, and this should not be underestimated or ignored. Gohan is always hanging on by a thread, but then Dabura stands down and states in the manga that he is not running away and he does not need to mess with Gohan, implying Gohan was just a plaything to Dabura. This is a huge piece of evidence. And if the Daizenshu says they were fairly equal, yes, maybe at the start, but Gohan is always on the back foot when Dabura is gaining ground, meaning Dabura could actually be above Super Perfect Cell after all. Many think Gohan couldn't be a Super Saiyan 1 if Dabura is Super Perfect Cell levels because Dabura would have stomped him even more. But here's the thing, Dabura was not losing. Dabura was toying with Gohan. Many don't see that, but he really was. Dabura's attitude shows it. Gohan had the edge in the first 5 seconds of the fight, and then it disappeared, and the fight was always in Dabura's favour more and more as time went on. Dabura called him trash and scum and was so confident in taking him down. Many underestimate Dabura's performance against Gohan, believing it to be equal when it's clear Dabura was toying with Super Saiyan 1 Gohan. And many overestimate Super Perfect Cell so freaking much it's unreal. It was nothing compared to Super Saiyan 2 Gohan in Cell games. Super Saiyan 2 Gohan was still ready to kick his ass. A theoretical Super Saiyan 2 Gohan in the Buu arc would have made Dabura sweat in his big blue pants, not make Dabura laugh his ass off at everything Gohan did in the fight, and sure as hell not have Dabura boasting he's ready to kill Gohan afterwards if Gohan was Super Saiyan 2 originally. Dabura would have been less keen to fight if Gohan could sustain his Super Saiyan 2 power properly and show more dominance. And it makes sense in the story for Dabura to be compared to Super Perfect Cell because Dabura's power was written into the Buu Saga as a measuring stick for the new big bad villains to dominate, showing us fans the difference between the previous and next big villain. When it comes to referencing and source material, there is nothing more important and prioritized than the manga and anime itself. Hands down, those two are the projected #1 source of information we read and watch as fans. We have read the manga where Gohan fights Dabura. We have watched the anime of their fight, and we can clearly see the truth. That Gohan was not Super Saiyan 2 against Dabura. I'm sticking to my guns today, and I'll stick with Akira Toriyama's manga showed me that Gohan was a Super Saiyan 1 against Dabura.